Hello and welcome to the Missed Q. I'm your host, Ricky.
Hi, and I'm Jackie.
That's right, and together we are the Missed Q. With us today, we have our special guests, Darren and Barbara Hunting. Hello, how are you guys?
We're doing great.
Excellent.
How are you?
Excellent.
So I think before we get started, we need to make sure that our audience knows a little bit about you and kind of who you are. So thinking about, we're going to start with Barbara. Darren, you have to wait. Ladies first.
No, okay.
So Barbara, tell us a little bit about how you got started singing. I want to go from the beginning. Like, tell me your talents. Tell me all of it. I want to know it all.
From the get-go.
From the get-go.
beginning. I didn't get interested in singing until I was in third grade.
That late.
I know. I was already over the hill, pretty much. I had gone to an elementary school for kindergarten, first and second grade. I have no memory of those years, to be honest. I think it was because there was some traumatic stuff going on at the school, violence and such. And then my mom plucked my brothers and I out of this school. We started at a private school. We also started going to a new church. And in third grade, Mrs. Dickey said kids were going to do a show. And it's called Down by the Creek Bank. And it was about a bunch of kids playing out in the wilderness by a creek. And there was one specific song, and it was called Germs, My Invisible Dog. And I wanted that song. I mean, I can sing you the whole song. I won't do it unless you really want me to.
Wow. We'll make a reel out of that.
Right? I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, we might need a little snippet.
But that was the song that I was like, I'm going to learn that song. I want that solo. Well, I auditioned. Wah, wah, wah. I didn't get it.
Oh, wait for it.
Yeah. So heartbreak in third grade, and Shelley Burris got the solo that I wanted.
Oh, Shelly.
The fact that you still remember Shelley.
Shelley Burris. But I stuck it out. I did the show. And ever since then, I was literally hooked. I took piano lessons in fourth and fifth grade. And teacher number one, beautiful, wonderful, kind, loved it. That lasted a year. She moved away. Teacher number two was the kind who would whap your knuckles with a ruler. Miss Jenkins, I remember her too. And
Wow.
We remember the good and the bad.
absolutely.
Trauma at the school. Okay.
She taught me what not to do as a teacher. And after Miss Jenkins, I stopped taking piano lessons, but I still played the piano. And then I continued singing in church and at school.
So were you still like teaching yourself a piano along the way?
I was, yeah.
Okay. So it never stopped for you.
Never stopped. And I did shows in high school. And then in college, I decided my first 3 years of college, pointless, listless. I changed my major every time I changed boyfriends, which was a little too often.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
Okay.
And then I moved from Illinois to California when I was 20. I transferred colleges, started fresh as a music major. That's when I started.
Met me and became a music major.
Stop it. That's not true.
Okay. Let her
I
tell the
became a
story,
music
Darren.
Your
major.
turn will come, Darren.
Yeah. Y'all
We'll
are
hear
gonna
your side of it.
y'all are gonna find out.
Oh, the
like,
truth.
This is what happens. He interrupts me with lies. And
I believe it.
I know. Thanks, Jackie.
Already, I'm like, this
I'm
should
on
have been
your
a
side.
solo. We should have split you to a.
Solidarity. So at age 20, when I started college again in California, I started lessons on the piano again. That's when I got serious about the piano. And so I was a music major. I graduated with a degree in Christian education and then a degree in music. And then I was a stay-at-home mom, and then I started my own studio teaching privately, and I've been in and out of the education system, teaching in classrooms. And yes, I met Darren when I was 21. It was love at first listen.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are the
Yeah.
humble beginnings. Yeah.
And so when you were teaching and had your own studio, was it just piano or piano and voice?
it was piano and voice.
And voice. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, I think we should
Right
hear.
now, you can go ahead. Your turn, Darren. Follow up.
Oh, when we get there, I'll tell the truth. I'll
right.
get you.
Okay, well, this is the time.
Okay.
Tell us about your humble beginnings. Tell us your story.
The baby of 7 children, they all love to sing and stuff, but none of them ever took it seriously. So growing up, I was like, I'm like serious. I like music. Like I really like it. So I've known, I have a little book called the School Days Book, and on the back you write, you say about what you liked about the teacher and what you wanted to be.
Yes.
So I've got that, and ever since 4th grade, it says I want to be a singer. I want to be, I want to do music. That's all I ever wanted to do was music, like since 4th grade. And so I got very involved. Like the handbell choir was 4th grade.
Yes. Oh my
and
God,
then
I love
choir in 5th grade, and then band. At our school, it was a power couple. It was Danny and Vanita Birch. And so Danny would
Wow,
do
you guys have
kind of
great
some of the
memories.
older ages, and Vanita was kind of the younger one. And so, and then he would do the choir, she'd be the accompanist. And so like, I knew like, I'm going to find a woman who knows how to play the piano. I've got to find a wife who can play the piano, And so I've just always known, and I wanted to be Danny, and I wanted to marry a Vanita, And so
And you found her.
Right, I did. But I'll tell the truth because we're getting there. And so I knew. So I was going to go. I got a full ride scholarship because of the vocal cords. And so I was like, because there was no way the baby of 7 children.
Right.
I mean, my parents couldn't afford college and all that stuff. And so I had to find, and so she was able to get full ride scholarship, which happened to be the school that Barbara was transferring to. But I graduated from high school on Friday, June 17th. And then 2 days later, I met Barbara before she ever was a music major, before she ever knew she was going back to school, to the college where we met.
Before she had you to inspire her.
that's
Once again, I was right.
technically true.
It is true. I said I told the
But
truth.
he
I told
didn't
you.
impact the decision whatsoever.
Right.
She was in
Come
love with me
on.
from the first time she heard me sing.
That has nothing to do with her decision to pursue a career like
I'm
that.
sorry. I'm still Team Barbara on this one.
Yeah, Team
He was in
Barbara
a
all the
men's
way.
quartet, and I liked the guy who sang
Mike. She liked
something.
Mike.
She
different
liked
part.
Mike.
I think he was singing first tenor.
He was.
He
I
was
on
her,
lead.
Danny.
I was on lead tenor,
Second
second tenor. Yeah.
Something about that first tenor voice. I got you.
I know.
I know.
There's mass appeal.
So yeah, I knew I was going to be a music major. Went on now, but I tell even my own students, because I've been teaching for a long time, that you can do both. That's why I loved 2009 when High School Musical came out, because it was the first time that they really showed you can do sports and be great. I was captain of the football team my senior year. Like I was an animal on the field, but I knew that I wanted to do music. Yes, I enjoyed sports, and that was a great way of staying fit and enjoying team and teamwork makes the dream work and all that kind of good stuff. But
And it teaches the same lessons that theater does.
It,
but
it does.
Yeah.
But for me, we only had choir. We didn't have a big theater department at our school. So, we did do a play. What's that one? With the 12 children. Dozen. It's Cheaper by the Dozen.
I almost said the dirty
Cheaper
dozen.
by the-
I knew that wasn't right.
Cheaper by the Dozen. I was the lead boy in Cheaper by the Dozen, but it wasn't a musical. I was like, why didn't my teacher make it a musical? I want to do a musical. So,
And your teacher's like, you're lucky we're doing a play.
yeah.
Exactly.
This is all you
You're
get.
lucky I chose you, Darren.
Could have picked Mike.
Wow.
Yes, touche.
Circle back.
then it would have been a musical.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, already things I didn't know. I've known you guys since, when did we meet? 2010?
Oh, it was earlier than
It was
that.
before
We were
that.
doing
It
great.
was
City Center
before
Entertainment.
that.
It was way earlier.
Yes, it was
Probably
before that.
We were here in
2007.
2005, and it was close around, not far after we got here.
So 2006, I did Jesus Christ Superstar.
100%.
the
Yeah, I was at the audition with you.
Annie.
Yeah.
Annie
How could I forget
in
we did
2007.
Annie together in 2007?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. I am so sorry. I do
I'll set you
remember
straight.
that show.
I'll tell the
yeah.
truth.
Well, I did that. Well, I did it
17
since
years.
then. I was Rooster the last time I did it. But when we did it,
Nice.
I was like 8 different parts, which I loved doing that. So yeah, wow, 17 years.
How old were you in 2007?
Oh, good. That's a good
22.
question.
Oh my gosh.
And how many?
baby.
Because you'll probably remember, because he let me know all the time.
Oh, I believe it.
I'm already on my blank costume change, and you're sitting back here behind with a fan.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
For Annie. That's
I
right.
was Daddy Warbucks.
I was like 5 costume changes deep.
Oh, we was
and he
more
was
than
just
that,
still
and he let
chilling.
me know
Chilling.
it.
Chilling
And he let
in
me
his
know
like,
I believe
tux.
it 100%.
Chilling in my tux.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, you just
fanning.
relaxing, enjoying your sipping your tea,
Had
buddy, in
some
your
people-
tux. Must be nice. I'm sweating.
People are like feeding you grapes.
Yeah.
You're like, this is great.
Exactly. Wow. Okay. So yeah, we go way far back. So
Well, and you
guys-
also did theater with their children.
Yes. Yes. So I want to talk about how you guys got to havasu. So you guys met.
Yes. We met in California in college. We got married just before our senior year. Then we both graduated. Darren went straight into his master's program in conducting at Azusa Pacific. And he graduated, and a month later, our oldest was born, Corey. So all the children were born in Southern California in Huntington Beach. And then we had a few years where we, the traveling years, we went from California to Park City, Utah, and we were there for 2 years. Then Colorado Springs, Colorado for 3 years. Every time it was for a job for Darren. And typically politics would take hold. The person who hired him would then leave. Then the new person would come in and not like him.
And clean house.
Clean house or,
They want to hire who they want to hire.
Yeah, and this was
Out goes the
private,
musical director.
private education.
Especially for the arts department.
100%.
Yeah.
They got their opinion of what the arts should look like, should be, and they've got the people in mind.
Yeah.
And it's not Darren.
So we actually came to Havasu because Darren's mother bought her home here in 1988.
When I graduated from high school,
And
we moved here.
It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. And we were unemployed with 3 kids. They were getting ready to go into 1st grade, 3rd grade, 5th grade. So we thought, you know what? It hasn't worked for us to not be in California. So Havasu's close enough. We can,
Right.
Go do
hang out in
interviews.
Havasu
Yeah.
and go to Southern California and do interviews, which we did.
Yeah.
And that
Summer
was
of
2005.
2005. Yeah.
And nothing materialized. And so we said, okay, well, we went to church one Sunday at Calvary, and somebody heard us singing in the audience. And literally, the rest is really history, because then, they approached Darren about working at Calvary, and then
And at Calvary Christian Academy, doing the
Havasu
music
High
there.
needed a music teacher.
Yep.
And
yeah.
so Darren started teaching at Calvary and doing church, and I started teaching at Havasu Pi, and news travels fast.
Right.
So once you meet some key people, the art community,
Yeah.
Yeah.
People talk all the time on this show about how theater gets you.
Yeah.
yeah. So Darren was the first to dip his toe into the waters of
Yeah.
Grace Arts.
Because of course, Cindy Aldridge, and who was one of my, the parents of one of the students I taught, Nick,
Yeah.
her youngest, at CCA, and also Kelly Ward was doing shows and said, Darren, you got to do theater. Like I said, I love theater. I've done tons of theater. I've directed tons of theater for all my students at all the schools I had taught at. And so I love theater, of course. Sure. I mean, you've got a theater. And so Kelly Ward really said, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it. So I said, let's do it.
There you go.
Let's do
Wow.
it. Yeah.
So your
Well-
first show was Annie.
Was Annie, yeah.
But that was when Grace was
And you
at
were Daddy Warbucks.
Mojave
Daddy Warbucks.
Community
First show.
College.
First time I shaved my head. I'd never shaved the head
Wow.
before. And Grace was like, Jerry Aldridge, when he played King and he was willing to shave his head. Are you willing to do that, Darren? I said, for the newspaper? Heck
You're like,
yeah.
challenge accepted.
Throw down the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Oh man.
Yeah. So the newspaper came and took pictures at our rehearsal.
I didn't realize
when
that
they
was your
did
first show with Grace.
That was my first one with Grace.
And you were
Yeah.
Daddy Warbucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And the big note that I have, a memory of that one that I will warn all of you theater people, and I tell all of my students this, I knew I was going to be on stage. Well, we'd been fired, and so now from Colorado Springs, now we're moving here, and oh my gosh, havasu, and so I'd put on a few, and then I get cast as Daddy Warburg. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. But I was heavier than I wanted to be, so I was like, I'm going to lose some weight. And back when Grace was doing the shows at MCC, that was like a full 3 months. Like, it was awesome.
Oh,
We had
yeah.
lots of time.
You could literally get cast in your role and go, I want to train my body to look like this for the show.
So that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Well, who was it? Lauren's mom, Marcia, was the costumer at the time. And so she measured me, and then I had 3 months, and I'm like, I'm going to go work out every day. And
I can already see where
I
this
lost
is going.
71 pounds.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, and so I showed up, and Marcia, she was not happy with me. But she was like, Darren, you should have let me know. But Grace never, I was coming every week. Grace should have said, Darren, are you losing
that's
weight?
because you're coming
We need
every
to let
week. She
Marcia
sees you
know.
consistently,
Right.
but
But
she probably
Marcia
didn't
hadn't.
notice.
And so, but I didn't realize.
man.
Because they had the legit thing going on. She had measured me, and so she pulled all these costumes, and then it was the week before, and it was Grace was
man.
Grace was mad.
I also got in trouble with Marsha Blaine. No, but it was my fault. Of
Okay,
course.
go on.
Well, no, I mean, so this just shows the level of theater in Lake Havasu and the level of Grace Arts Life.
Right.
Because Darren and I had directed shows with students in church and private school. And so the first time, as an adult and as an educator, I was not prepared for the level of professionalism. I'm going to lay that out.
There's a
right there.
costume fitting, like, separate from rehearsals and stuff.
Yes.
It's a whole-
Yeah, it's totally legit. And so my first show I did at Grace Arts was the kids' show Cinderella, and I was fairy godmother. Marcia had made this absolutely gorgeous light blue, Cinderella blue, satin cape with a hood for fairy godmother. Well, I see all these crazy kids running around, and they're like, okay, so we're going to put costumes in the trailers, da-da-da. And I was thinking to myself, these children are going to destroy my costume. I can't have this. So I took that blue cape home. I took it
To
home.
protect it.
Of
To
course.
protect
yeah,
it.
yeah,
I see that. Yeah.
I
But-
removed it from the property.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I got a phone call from Grace. And rightly so.
Right.
But rightly so.
I can't believe you took that.
Where are you right now? And I don't even think we had cell phones yet.
No,
Sorry,
no.
kids. I said, "Oh, I'm
Life
at home.
before cell.
Do you have a piece of your costume at your home right now?" Yes. You need to bring it back right now. And I got in the car and I drove that blue cape, and I bowed down and scraped, and I said, I am so sorry, because I didn't realize the level of professionalism.
Yeah.
Right.
And the children had been trained so incredibly well. They would have never touched anybody else's costume. They would have never touched anybody else's prop.
Yeah, we were super respectful back then.
Yes.
We still are. we
talking-
still are.
I'm talking about kids.
Right.
Yeah, they still are.
Oh.
They train them well at Grace
Yes.
Arts.
Okay.
So one thing I know that you guys did when you were in California that I want to know more about, and I think our listeners do too, is when you were working at Disney.
Voices of Liberty.
Voices
Yes.
of Liberty. Tell us about that.
Well, we'll go back to the beginning.
Okay.
The first time I did Disney was in 1995. And I say that because Disney really is a family, just like Grace Arts Live. And I'll bring this around. She'll remind me to get it back to what happened about a month ago to show that Disney really is a family too. It really is. So the first thing I did was in 1995, their parade they'd been doing it forever, and they wanted to do a new one, so they did. So I was the original cast of A Christmas Fantasy, and it's still going today.
Oh, wow.
They still do A Christmas Fantasy. Same music. The voices that you hear are us. So we did the recording. They're still using us. So they had live singers in the parade that very first couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and so that was the first time I ever auditioned. I had friends, I grew up there, right?
Right.
10 miles from Disneyland. So I grew up in Huntington Beach. And so I went all the time. Our school every year. Barbara jokingly calls me a bougie white boy because like I went to Disneyland every year for school. We got a day off to go to Disneyland. Like, how fun is that?
That's very
Like, come on. So I was hooked with the magic. I mean, I really was.
Right.
And so when my friends worked there, I said, it's just amazing. And then he was like, Darren, my friend Jay Otto from high school, he just was like, Darren, you've got to audition. They do auditions. And so I went and, I mean, obviously I had done auditioning and I knew what was good and what wasn't good, but this one was, he called me the night before and said, there's an audition tomorrow. I think you'd be perfect. You've got to go. And so I was 25 years old and there I was like, let's do it. Let's go. So I already had a kid. I was already married and had our first child. And so I go to this audition and oh my word, brutal. Like it is legit. And so that's why, you know, I love teaching my students about what a legit audition is. I mean, it's like, doom, 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 doom. And so, I mean, it was, oh my gosh, I was scared to death. So audition, long story short, I made it.
Right.
And then I became, in Disneyland, they called them leads. So I was the lead caroler. And because I already had my master's in vocal performance and in choral conducting, they were like, oh my gosh, he can like keep everybody and fix the altos because I had already been teaching and I already knew. I mean, that's my thing, my wheelhouse. They were like, oh my gosh, Darren, we want you to. So it was just amazing to the first time be a Disney cast member to now be the lead. And so anyway, it was just awesome. Dropping a few names, of course, because that's what you got to do in theater.
Yeah.
And I've got video of me and pictures on my Facebook to prove it. Is of course a big Broadway star now got nominated for her first Tony. Eden Espinosa.
Oh.
She's a local Orange County girl. She was also
Wow.
one of the best. Wicked, the alphabet in Wicked, and she's on a show right now that was nominated, and she was nominated, and she was my soprano, and we danced and sang together the whole time at Disneyland, and I'm like, Eden, don't forget us little people. And
Right,
so-
remember me.
yeah,
Yeah.
remember. And it's Eden. I mean, she's just amazing. She's just as wonderful as she seems on stage. And anyway, so that was to be with that kind of caliber.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. So, and then there were other shows like events that I would do for Disney, but you know, I was having children, so I had to have the respectable jobs because it's hard. I mean, because Disney, you get a gig and now it's over in 3 months, 2 months, 6 months. Sometimes you get lucky and it's years, but not typically. And so, yeah, that was the first time. Did lots of things, but then of course the Voices of Liberty. Wow, dream! I had actually gone.
So first, explain to our listeners what the Voices of Liberty is.
It screams Darren Hunting, like because it is all a cappella. It is at Florida. It used to be 9 people when we did it at California because it started in Florida years ago. Years. They've been going 45 years, 50 years, and so they wanted to in 2012. Bring it over to California because it was in June 15th, Cars Land was opening at California Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
So they purposely wanted
Cars
something
Land.
big at Disneyland so that California Adventure wasn't so crowded.
Right, yeah.
And a lot of people love, and a lot of people knew Voices of Liberty from Florida. And so I had actually flown to Florida and auditioned for them twice and didn't make it. Now, I will admit, I never got cut, but they never hired me. In other words, I made it to the last 16, but they only had 8 people. And each time, for some reason, I never got hired. But and so then the same thing. The second year, I lost a ton of weight and went back thin. And the musical director even said, whoa, you lost a ton of weight. And he remembered me. And then I sang again and he didn't cut me. And so I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the
This
year
is
I
my
get
year.
it. And no, because part of it was, Barbara says that they just assumed that he knew that they were going to bring it to Disneyland because just a few months later, we heard about the auditions. And I'm like, and then I heard that it was going to be him again. I thought, well, he hates me. He doesn't like me. So I'm not going to audition. And Barbara's like, just go audition. Like, just do it. It's a 4-hour drive to Orange County. Like, come on. If you get in, great. If you don't, oh, well, it's a 4-hour. It's a tank of gas. So I did, and the rest is history. Like, and he saw me, and he later said, I was hoping I would see you, because he knew I was in the area.
Right.
And so he was hoping that I would come audition. And he said it was just a matter of, if you came, I was going to hire you. So,
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah.
So more name dropping.
Oh,
Many of the members of Voices of Liberty in Florida, Darren sang with, they were members of Voices of Liberty in Southern California. But then when the show closed in Southern California, they auditioned in Florida. They sing in Voices of Liberty in Florida. Many of those members now make up the group Voctive.
a very well-known
A cappella.
acapella. So,
Yes,
so
I've
yes,
heard of Voctive.
Give 'em a
Voices
listen.
of Liberty is a 12 member now, and Voctive also is 11, 12 people. And it's my favorite. It's incredibly tight harmonies. Like, you got to know how to read music. You got to know how to
Like,
hold your part.
those harmonies, I better just.
To die, they're just, you can just live. Oh, and that's me. That's who I am.
And
I
in
love
the
music.
parks, they sing Americana tunes, patriotic music.
Yeah.
And that's kind of branched out to now
Arrangements of the Disney
arrangements. Who's one of the arrangers? Very famous.
The famous one is Derek Johnson.
Derek Johnson.
Yeah, he started the group.
Yes, and he does
Love him.
medleys of Disney classics, and they sing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just gorgeous.
And now Voctive
wonderful.
are getting their own arranger, but
Yes.
and they're but it's all the same. If you love that kind of music, it's all that
Yeah.
same incredibly. The people who do that stuff, they're so gifted, and what a joy to have 11 other cast members at Disneyland in the Voices of Liberty, who the most incredible musicians I have ever been around. Like. And it's a special thing. There was even a lot of people, you may have heard of the Dapper Dans. And some of the Dapper Dans, that's 4 voices, and that's different. It's all men. But when you go to 6 men, 6 women, some people just, it's hard. And some of the Dapper Dans who are so talented, just, it's difficult and audition and couldn't make it into the Voices of Liberty. It really was, and just what a joy to be with that caliber of singers. There's a new Disney thing that came out, and one of the singers, dear friend of mine, we actually knew her before. My brother knew her family, and anyway, Natalie Taylor Babbitt. She is the voice of Snow White on this new Disney thing that just came out, a new Disney cartoon, and she got to play, because the original Snow White, the voice is obviously not alive any longer. And so my dear friend Natalie, who was in the Voice of Liberty, doing her dream job, playing the voice of Snow White, for Disney still. So,
So you were supposed to circle back around to a month ago.
oh, it's Disney is a family. And so Barbara and I got the pleasure of one of my students in town. I love being able to run into people that have been former students. So, for instance, this year at Starline, the counselor is Alyssa Garrison, now Alyssa Horton. I taught her in middle school, to bump in to see Alicia, now to teach Alicia's daughter. It's just so I'm teaching children's children. This is crazy. So I taught at Starline with Destiny McLaughlin, who is now Destiny Irons, because she said, "Oh my gosh, Darren and Barbara, will you do the music for our wedding?" Oh my gosh, well, of course. Like for a student, how awesome. And a colleague and a friend, a dear friend. We love her. Destiny and her husband. And so they got married in the Disneyland Hotel outside, and it was the courtyard, Rose Courtyard. It was just amazing. And so we go and all the cast members, they're all so professional and wonderful. And so sure enough, one of the cast members was saying, "You look really familiar." And I said, "Well, I was in the Voices of Liberty." "Oh my gosh, I remember you. Yeah, you're the only bald guy in the cast. And so it got around. The cast members were like, "One of the Voices of Liberty is singing for a wedding." And so they went around telling people. And so sure enough, at the reception, we went into the Cinderella ballroom or whatever it was called. It was beautiful. And several cast members came up and said, "Oh my gosh, I was in a Christmas Fantasy with you." Remember? I said, "Oh my gosh, I remember." Her name was Emily. It's like, "Oh my gosh, I remember you." And she was like, "Oh my gosh." And it just was a family. So lots of people who were danced in the Christmas Fantasy or sang in the Christmas Fantasy or in the Voices of Liberty, who, other cast members who loved that they had brought Voices of Liberty to Disneyland. So yeah, it was a small world. It really was. And it was just great. to be part of that family.
It's a small world.
Yeah.
The small.
Pun intended.
Love
But
that.
honestly, though, there's something about a cappella music that is
Oh my
just
gosh.
like one singing it, like the technique and focus you have to have, but then even just listening and appreciating it is just it's a whole nother genre that is just sometimes I feel like underrated because
100%.
if you've never done it,
Yes,
you don't
Jacqueline,
understand
yes.
how hard it is.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you have to
Yeah.
read music, but you also have to be able to
Hold your note. Hold the
'cause
pitch.
No one else is singing it with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Most of the time, you're by yourself
Right.
That's right.
Right.
on a hard, like,
Absolutely.
second soprano note that you can't
You're singing
hear
the sixth,
anywhere.
and yeah,
Yes.
right. But you got to hold that sixth. You better believe it. Yeah. By yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And stay on pitch. You cannot.
Correct.
Oh,
Wow. And what were you doing
What was I doing?
this whole time? Like,
I was raising children.
I was like, yeah, she was being a mama.
She was rearing children.
was
Stayed home. Stay home.
Yeah. So that we thought we were going to move back to California from Havasu during the Voices of Liberty run because they kept extending the show.
Yeah.
And that's always a really good indicator that they're thinking of making it a permanent fixture at Disneyland.
And in January it became. So January of 2013, it did become permanent. So it was awesome. So
So
they said it's permanent.
the show lasted 10 months. I had already announced my studio. I was teaching privately. We were homeschooling the kids. We didn't want to move right away because they were heavily involved at Grace Arts. All of them were taking like 5 dance classes a week. Our oldest was playing football at the high school. And I had my home studio. I had 44 students a week, piano and
Oh,
voice
wow.
lessons. And so
Barbara was
No joke.
Barbara was top dog.
She was
yeah,
hustling.
and I was musically directing the kids shows at Grace Arts. I was filling in for Darren because he, we were renting a small house in California, but we still were living here. So it was kind of 10 months of going back and forth, but we had announced, okay, we're moving to California. The show is going to become permanent, blah, blah, blah. And then out of the blue, they canceled the show.
Yeah. Politics again.
Yeah.
That's showbiz, baby.
That's
Yeah, it is.
It is that showbiz.
It is.
So yeah, I was just keeping the home boat
Yeah.
afloat.
So what year did you guys move out of Havasu? Was
Then
it
a year
still-
later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was 2014. So we lived in Havasu from 2005 to 2014.
Okay, because I remember doing Legally Blonde in 2013 with
Yes,
Corey, and I'll
yes.
never forget one of his little bits. And anyway, sorry.
Yes. Yeah. And then we went back to California and we were there for 8 years. And we came back to Havasu in 2022.
Yeah.
That's when I met the Huntings in
Yes.
2022.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, when I did Good Vibe Session videos for a little
gosh.
bit, I don't really
I love
don't really
those.
release those at all. But yeah, it was like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did the Christmas sessions with you guys. It was amazing.
It was really fun. That was great.
Someone just this last Christmas said, we saw it again. It came up again on Facebook and we loved it. It was
Awesome.
So
I love that.
good times.
Well, I remember because in my position at the district, I work with new teachers, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, this new teacher is coming to Starline, and he is amazing. He's coming back to the district. Like
He's a
love him."
legend.
Yeah, he's a legend. And I'm like, okay, like I've heard that about a lot of people. Sure, he is. And they're like, no, just wait until you meet him. You will love him. You will think he's fantastic. And I was like, okay, we'll see.
But Jacqueline's right. Like in the biz.
Oh, wait.
I was like,
No, in the biz,
That you're a
people,
legend?
People say, "Oh man, I'm so good. I've done this, this, and this, and this."
Right.
And I'm not trying to be mean, but like you,
sometimes you ain't. Sometimes you
it's
ain't
true.
good.
Yeah.
It's true in the biz. You may have big credits, but like, you know what I'm saying? So I totally get what she's saying. Barbara and I, we get this. People come up and say, "Oh, I'm a singer too," and
You're like, sure you are.
you just smile. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, wait, that's what you said to me.
Yeah, but you've proved it, girl. You proved it.
Yeah. Since then.
But yeah, I walked into your classroom that first day, and you were like, it was like school started on Monday, and it was like Friday. Like it was literally the weekend before.
Yeah.
And I remember walking in, and then we found out we knew Julie Garnis, and we
Yep.
had that connection.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's going to be okay. I'm like, I guess he's as legit as they say.
I mean, if we could sing with Julie Garnis, I guess. We were
right.
good enough.
Right.
We have the Juju and the Jujubes.
Yes.
Yes, that's who we were.
So you are still at Starline teaching
Yes.
music.
Love it. Oh my gosh.
And what is this now?
Shout out to my third year. Shout out
my
to all my
God.
students and to my colleagues and to my incredible
Yes.
principal. Love it. Like, again, I've taught it. This is my 25th year teaching. And so I've taught at several schools. I've had lots of principals. And I just have really appreciated that Ginny wants the arts to succeed. Mrs. Sotner,
Yes.
Mrs. Sotner really wants the arts to succeed, and you can tell Starline is a place that
Yeah, and I feel like it's really emphasizing that we in public education are teaching more than just academics. We are teaching the whole child.
Yes.
And we know, because theater and music has impacted all of our lives,
right.
the power that it has
100%.
to make or break it for a kid. Like the reality is like they have the ability to have their life be changed because music and theater are a part of it.
Absolutely.
I know my
Yeah.
life wouldn't be the same.
Well, we have already a bunch of stories about that same kind of transformation on
Yeah.
this show that we've heard from people. So it's awesome. So thank you for teaching and educating the children in the arts.
I love it.
Well, and then we got extra lucky because then another music teacher position opened up at Nautilus. And who should take that position but the fabulous Barbara
Is that this year?
Yes,
last year.
Last year?
last year.
Yeah.
And timing is everything, right?
Yes.
The Miss
yes.
Q. So there was
Oh, Barbara,
Ba-dum,
you're
boom.
good.
So when we moved back to Havasu 2 years ago, there was only one music teaching position open in the district, and it was perfect for Darren, and he took it. And I, at the time, was thinking, maybe I'm meant to do something else besides teach. So I just dipped my toe in the water.
We were empty nesters,
Yeah. So
All the children.
perfect time to try something new. So I decided, okay, I'm going to work for the police. I went through.
Okay.
I went
Quite
through,
a different.
Yes.
quite
career.
a
Yeah,
different
choice.
career path. So I went through all their screening processes and passed everything, and had to take a
Even the lie
test,
detector
which
test.
was super fun. You guys, it was really awesome.
Just like the
when you
movies.
don't have anything to hide, okay.
Yeah.
But it was legit. So I was a 911 dispatcher in training, and I lasted 94 days. And then I said, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Why? Why wasn't it for you?
Well, mad respect to all of our men and women of law enforcement, firefighters,
Yep.
emergency services.
Yep.
I will say the 911 dispatch people are
Amazing.
They're the thin gold line. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're recognized sufficiently for the fact that in this town, they take every single phone call that comes in for police, for fire, even general information calls. And you don't have time to process the stress. And I mean, I don't want to go into detail of kind of the heavy things that you deal with, but when I began receiving calls about people that I knew, because we'd lived here for so long, that's when I just said, I don't think this is the job for me. Because you don't have sufficient time really to process the stress, to process the grief. And the men and women who work in dispatch are really a special breed of people. They're amazing. And my experience there was transformative.
Yeah.
It was life-changing. I would liken it, if it was a show, it's The Wizard of Oz, where I kind of got to pull back the curtain, and see the inner workings of the people that keep our city safe. And I think I never had a clue as a citizen, all the things that they do that we don't even realize to keep certain elements out of our town.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. And then after 94 days, I said, I I'm too stressed out. And then about 6 weeks after that, Pam Bixby at Nautilus, who was teaching music and art, she decided to retire. And here I was, ready for a job.
Wow.
I know. So it was like perfect timing.
So maybe that was just part of your journey that you
It was
needed to
definitely part of my
experience
journey.
that.
It was.
And the principal over at Nautilus is Shannon Williams. We
Yes.
know and love her. She
Yes.
was my principal
Yes.
at Calvary Christian Academy.
Yes.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
And so Barbara was like, I get to work for Shannon because she was my boss, but now she's now I get to work for her. We love her. So it's just a huge win-win.
Yeah.
Did you see what I did there?
I did.
See what
Great
That was
fit.
really nice.
It's a great fit.
Okay.
Well, and I just think that the kids of this community now have such, and you're leading like the arts in the elementary schools throughout all schools. So even if they're at a school that does not have one of you,
Right.
you guys are like champions for the importance of the arts. And I think it is changing how we look at the arts in our schools.
Well, and we look at our team. So let's talk about the elementary team. Like, I've got to say a huge shout out to Brian Karbowski. Like, holy cow, that man is amazing. What he does at Smoke Tree and havasu Pie.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, and I've gone and seen him play. We've gone and seen him play live at the Boathouse Grill where he plays guitar. Like, what a musician! Like I said, the Voices of Liberty, but those are musicians. Like, we're musicians, and he is up there. Like, he's amazing. And then you've got Carrie Clark at Jamaica.
Yeah.
Holy cow, the woman! She's amazing. Like, I love her, and she's so talented.
She's done a few Grace Arts.
Yeah, she has.
Oh, yeah.
She was
Yeah.
just in Carousel.
I got to be in Freaky Friday with her.
Yep.
So a huge shout out to our colleagues in the elementary music world. Brian Karbowski at Havasu Pie and Smoke Tree. Amazing. Like, and we had gone and seen him at Boathouse Grill. And like, I brought a $20 bill because the guy's so good. Like, I put that in the tip jar.
Stretching the
like,
budget.
he's
Right?
Wow.
Barbara's like, we're not going to eat this week.
On a teacher's salary.
Hashtag worth it.
Wow.
Like, he's amazing. And you've got Carrie Clark over at Jamaica. Like, oh my gosh. And when I get some of their students, I'm like, you guys are not going to like me as much as you like your teachers because they're so good. You know? So it's just great. And then with this new one, Kelsey Sousa, like, we knew her and her husband before they were married. And then to find out she's transferring from the Bullhead area teaching music to us, like, yes. Like, and she had used the music curriculum that the district just bought us. Like, the
Yes.
district is so, I find them to be so incredibly affirming. So, like, it was the year to get new curriculum. They said yes, 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 and yes. And so they, for us elementary teachers, like, we said, this is what we need. And they gave it. Like, great new instruments, great new curriculum. And so trusting, there's lots of respect, and like, what a great team to be part of, as well as our middle school and high school teachers. Like, a great, great team.
All right, Barbara, this one's for you.
Ooh.
Thinking about your vocal skills,
Yes.
when you think of the shows you have done and the roles you have played, which one of them has been the most vocally challenging for you? I mean, I know you're
Oh, look at her face. She's like, I'm sorry. What's this
She's like-
word challenging
she's
you
like,
speak
none
of?
of them are challenging.
I'm a natural.
Well, so okay, that's
No, and it's legit. I literally can't see Barbara struggling and not
don't
just doing
paint
it.
me with that brush.
No, I don't think struggling. I just think there's some roles that are more technical than others, or
Well, and okay, I will trust that the audience, even though they don't know me, they can maybe hear from my voice like I'm not a prideful person. I really am not. What I will say is I have not had, because of my age, I have not had a role like Elle in Legally Blonde, where it's belty,
right.
and you're challenged because you're belting through your bridge and that kind of stuff. And so I would say I'm not saying I haven't been challenged.
Right.
Probably the most challenging role was Hats,
Yes.
which
Oh,
is
hats.
kind of
That was a funny show.
an unsung
Great show.
hero,
Yeah.
of female theater. We did that show. I don't know the year, but I think it's just 6 women. and it's all about the transition, into your turning 50. And I think I was 40 playing a 50-year-old woman. And, my mother's friends are giving me a birthday party. And they're celebrating that I'm turning 50 and now I can join the Red Hat Society, right? And I view it as I'm just getting old.
Right.
And tired and, whatever. But there was a particular song that's in that show that is fast paced, and it talks all about the changes in your body as a woman when you're going through changes, menopausal changes.
Yes.
And so that was that because it was challenging on a humor level, also because I needed to sing some things that my church friends would have never heard me even say out loud.
Right.
And so I had to do a little disclaimer. Okay, church friends, if you're coming to the show, there's this particular song that might make you uncomfortable. And it was so funny because Grace, our kids, they weren't super young, but they weren't high school age. And Grace said, your children need to experience you on stage starring in this show. And I said, but Grace, that one song. She's like, it'll be fine.
Right.
So my kids did come and, hear me do this song. But
And my mom cried.
yeah, because
There's one song that she sang that was just Invisibles, the name of the song. And it just made my mom cry. Her voice. My mother likes her voice better than mine.
I mean, a lot of people.
Well,
do.
I mean,
Whoa!
you guys are
You said it was going to get real. You did say it was going to get real.
No, I
I
think
would-
you guys sound great together. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
So I would say Hats was challenging in that way. And then a show that challenged me emotionally, just because all three of our children were in it. Darren was musically directing and I was starring, and that was Fiddler. I was Golda and I starred opposite Sean Tamburino, who's brilliant,
He's amazing.
Yeah,
fabulous.
Sounds great.
And the Sabbath scene, Grace directed, it was all in real candlelight. Like, we didn't have fake candles. We were all the families were positioned throughout the theater and on stage, and we had real candles. And in that moment, when you're singing the Sabbath prayer, all I could think about was, my own children and blessing them, and just it still kind of makes me well up when I think about it. And that, if you were going to ask me what my favorite role I've ever done is, it would be Golda in Fiddler. And I think just strictly because at that time, the ages of my kids, they were still home, but they were growing up really fast. They were in, high school, junior high.
Okay, Darren.
Darren.
Follow that up. What was your most vocally challenging?
I would have to say Camelot, King Arthur. Yeah.
Okay.
And definitely my favorite role. I love the getting to do an accent. How good can I make it? I mean, that's my dream. And then to, as a family, Barbara and I and the children, we got to go to England with one of the choirs we were singing with in Southern California. We did a tour in England. So to actually go to England in
During
2019. So it wasn't during that time. It was afterward, but I was like, I get to really practice. And I said, can I practice? And so I would ask our host families, and can you teach me? How am I doing? So it was just fun. And so I definitely care about the accent for King Arthur, but it was because it was a lot of memorization,
It's extremely wordy. And it's like that
wordy.
old English kind of.
Correct phrasing. So I'm like, what does that even mean? So I had to really get into the role, and it was a very challenging role.
Yeah, we did that together.
As well,
I was your
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mordred.
Yeah. So that was great. A great cast. Great cast.
So,
Great
and there's a
songs.
certain challenge with a role like that where you have to be like, the energy level has to be there the entire time. So, especially, I mean, for Camelot, my character didn't come on stage till like 9:30 at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy, but you guys had been on stage. It was like somewhere in the second act, but
Yes.
like that show's 3 hours easy.
Yeah.
And you have to be up there the entire time,
Yeah.
all this different dialogue. It's crazy. But you were surrounded by great talent.
Yes.
Great cast.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
All right. So if you had to pick between musically directing a show or starring in a show,
Oh my gosh.
which would you pick?
Are we working full time or?
Do we get to create our own scenario?
Yes. Yes, you sure do. You sure do.
You want to answer that one first?
No, you go.
I mean, I think for me, it would be definitely starring in a show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's so much fun. And we say it's so much fun, but aside from the fun, it's so cathartic because you can just throw yourself into whoever you're portraying. And if you allow yourself just to get caught up in those moments, you really do lose yourself in the lights. And it's a beautiful gift that you give. And this is what I convey to my students is being on stage is not necessarily about you, even though you're the one on stage. It is about a relationship that you're going to build with the audience.
I've brought this
like,
up. I have
yes.
said that
Oh my
it's a
gosh.
relationship that you have with the audience. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. And so as much as I have loved directing children in shows, that's all I did in California the last 8 years. I love watching the progress of a student come out of themselves and really embrace the stage and really bring themselves to the character. And as much as that's really fun and that's enjoyable and it's amazing, but like that feeling isn't matched when you're feeling it. So I would definitely choose being in a show.
Darren?
That's a great question. It really is. And as I thought about it, I mean, of course, listening to my wife, but I definitely would have to come back and say directing or musically directing, only because to see the students, whether it was when my children were young and directing little musicals with them in it, or when we moved back to Southern California in 2014, it was for me to be at this larger private school, Christian school in San Juan Capistrano. And it had a really good theater department, and I was the theater director, so I was in charge. And so I got to direct a live orchestra. And so when I think about those moments, and we did some great shows. We did How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. What a great musical. I had seen a Grace Arts live guy,
Scott Dreyer.
Scott Dreyer.
I saw him in
I
Southern
remember
California.
Scott told me he was auditioning for that. That was
In
like
that show, he
2012 or
got the
something.
lead role, and we went and saw him because I had heard about it, and so I went and saw the show, fell in love with the show. So when we moved back, I'm like, that's the show I want to do.
He must have been so awesome.
He
to watch.
came.
was
My
incredible.
Cody was my middle child, was the lead, and to see for the first time at this school, they'd been doing theater for decades, and in Southern California they have like the competition thing, and so judges come each year. The Macy's Award.
It's like the Tony Awards, but for high school theater.
For high school
in
theater.
Southern California.
Oh.
all over the world. And so what happens is we
fabulous.
did the Macy's, and for the first time ever at this school, Cody was nominated for Best Male Vocalist in a Leading Role. And then his counterpart, the female, whereas nobody at our school had ever been nominated for leading role. No one. In all the decades that the school had been competing at the Macy's Awards. So it was the perfect role for Cody and the perfect role for this young lady named Kristen. I mean, they were brilliantly cast, and because it was my son, just for the record, and my students know this, I did not do the casting. I brought my friends from Disneyland, two professionals. They did all the casting, and I told my students, don't say your last name, so that when Cody did his audition, he didn't say my name was Cody Hunting. They just watched the auditions, and they cast him in the lead role. So all of my students knew it was not me casting him in the lead role. He got it because these other professionals who knew no one cast him. So that's how important the audition process is, kind of a thing. So, that, and we did Shrek the Musical. And so directing these, and and musically directing, getting to direct a live orchestra. Oh, there's something magical about seeing students, people, whoever they are, just explode in their capability, what they're capable of doing. It's just so. I loved being King Arthur. I loved it. I've loved being Daddy Warbucks. I've loved being in shows, but nothing beats directing and musically directing. Oh, for me.
Wow.
I love that.
Okay. Actually, I do remember Cody in 13
Yes.
before you guys left.
Yeah.
He was great in that. That was a moment where I watched him and I went, oh man, this kid's good. He played, can't remember the character's name. He had the crutches.
Yeah. The nerd.
Yeah, I can't
The
remember.
nerd. He was
nerd.
it-
The
it
nerd
was
with the
so
crutches.
funny.
Okay, Bridget, fact check us.
Yes.
Please put the name of the character in the comments.
Yeah.
You, Bridget McCabe.
Oh my gosh. No, there's a lot of history. Obviously, with performing for you guys, there's a lot of history that we've had together
Yes.
way back in the day. And I do recall that you've needed to step in sometimes vocally, particularly for Cats, was a time where,
The show must go on.
yes, the singer got laryngitis and there was like a choir of people
Yeah.
backstage, right? Just
Yes.
Yes.
supporting the vocals.
It was
Correct.
In Cats.
fantastic. Well, Karen Hamstra had a setup back there. I think she had like
Several
two
live
keyboards.
they
had built the stage
instruments.
up so we were underneath the back portion, the downstage,
Upstage.
Upstage.
I haven't been on stage in a while. We were underneath the construction area, and I think there were about 7 of us
Yeah.
singing because Cats is such a choreographed,
Right.
Yes.
you know, thing.
Got all these dancers.
Yeah,
Right.
a lot of
Going hard.
dancers. And in the opening number, there's a high C that one of the cats, you know, has to sing. So every performance, it was agreed that I would pop that high C from backstage, and I did. And then,
One of the actors
Yes.
got laryngitis.
yes,
I think it was. And they sang the memory reprise.
yes,
And so you had to step in.
yeah,
And so somebody had your voice
yes, they
for
did.
a number, for an entire number, just lip syncing to Barbara.
And I was
Oh
happy
my
to do
gosh.
it. I was happy to do it. My only fear was I didn't want to make a mistake because she wouldn't on stage, she wouldn't know. And
Yeah.
I wanted her mouth to match what was
Yeah, of course.
what was happening.
I mean, you have a script in front of you, right? Back
Right.
there.
yes.
There you go.
But anything can happen.
I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
anything
true.
can happen.
That's true. Well, actually,
it's live
during the
theater.
Peaks and the Pollicles number, there was one performance where the music track stopped. Like they went to go hit and it never came on. And I'm like, and I played Monkey Strap, and that was my big song. And I made Grace keep that number. They were going to cut it. It's like a 7.5 minute song. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this. This is my favorite.
Yes.
I don't know if that's the reason she kept it in, but anyway, it was just a huge number. And yeah, you're right. Anything can happen.
Yep.
Well, and in my run as fairy godmother in Cinderella, I mean, I made it through first weekend, and by second weekend, I had laryngitis. So, I mean, I know what that's like to know you're heading out on stage and you don't have anything, or if you have something, it's not what you know
You're capable.
you're
of.
capable of.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's a terrible feeling.
Well, as a non-professional singer whatsoever, I have been in that position, but I usually head into those going, well, let's
It
see
is
if I
what
can
it
act
is.
my way around this, you
Yeah.
know, and then you make it a bit sometimes. Like that's my go-to. So,
Right.
but you guys as trained professionals, you guys have your little go-tos, your little tricks and secrets and stuff that I'm sure you use to
Yes.
help you in those
His-
situations.
His name is Dr. Devin Cunning.
The one trivia is my wife and I have only been on stage together one time because I would musically direct and she'd be in the show. She'd musically direct and I'd be in the show. So,
What
forever
time was that?
So the one and only time, Les Mis, we were the Thenardiers, husband and wife.
Oh my my goodness.
That was awesome.
You did Master of the House.
Yeah.
And Jason Fallis was Jean Valjean.
Yeah. Oh, what an all-star cast that was.
Sean
gosh,
Tamburino
great. Oh,
Yeah.
was
Tamburino
Javert.
sang that Stars song. Oh,
Kyle
my
Roberts
word.
was in it.
Yes.
Oh, he's a great
Yes.
vocalist.
Yeah. Cameron Moran was in that show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Good old
And
rock
two
star.
of our 3 kids were in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Corey great memory.
Corey was already away at college, but Cody and Carissa were both in that show.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Lauren was in it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, gosh, everybody. There was a bunch of
It's a
all-stars
great,
there.
great cast. Great show.
So what's a role that you, Darren, what's a role that you would like to see yourself in again? Actually, let's go with something you haven't played.
Ooh.
Is there a dream role for Darren Hunting?
It's interesting because, when I think about different great roles, obviously, I didn't know anything about Freaky Friday, but when I got cast in Freaky Friday, I was like, this is a dream role. So a lot of the roles have come, but ones that I hadn't done. Oh my gosh. I can tell you I loved watching and have always wanted. I thought, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be a great role? And that is, but it's tough acting. And of course,
Doesn't matter. You have a guarantee that you will not fail at this role. What is it?
but the acting is so hard. No, a dream role, Shrek. I want to be Shrek in Shrek the Musical. I do. It's my dream role.
Yeah.
My students know it. I play it. We're gonna. My voice is hurting. Students, let's watch Shrek the Musical. Just because and Brian D.R.C. James. Oh my
Oh,
word.
yeah. I
Oh
can
my
watch
word.
that all
But
day.
it's a challenging role vocally, as well as the fun accent. That
Yeah.
was made up, obviously. So it's just that's a dream role for me. But also Newsies, the Pulitzer.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Because that song,
Yeah.
Yes.
the great
The
song.
bottom line.
The bottom line. Thank you.
Such a good song.
I've seen only the national tour live, and oh my gosh,
Barbara, what's your dream role?
So I actually have 2. I would love to play Mama in Gypsy.
Ooh.
I
Okay.
would love to sink my teeth into that. I think that would be really fun and would really stretch me. And then I don't know if you're familiar with Come From Away.
I've heard it.
I
Yes.
would not. I would
I'm not
not.
super familiar.
I
but-
would not want to be the pilot because that would be very vocally demanding, challenging, not in my vocal wheelhouse, but pretty much any other female character. And they all play multiple characters.
That's one of Jackie's favorites. I think
do-
she talks about it a lot.
Yeah.
I do love it. I think it's honestly, the story,
Yeah.
it's 9/11.
Yeah.
And every time, because they put the production on, I
Yes.
think it was Apple.
Yes.
I watch, I cry every
Yes.
time,
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah.
I listen to it, I cry. It's just,
And I just love the original staging.
Yes.
So creative, yet really minimalistic and doable. And I loved seeing people of all different ages and shapes. That's what, that spoke to me a lot. And I was like, I could be in this show,
right.
even at, over 50. I'm over 50 now.
Yeah.
But yeah, great show. I'd love to be in that show.
I'd love to see her as Let Me Be Pulitzer, and her that the lady in Newsies,
Oh, gosh.
that character in Newsies.
When you're good to mama.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, no, what's her name?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Meadowlink Larkin.
Yes, I was like Madam
Meadowlink-
Mim.
Meadowlink Larkin.
Larkin, yeah.
Meadow-
Larkin.
I don't think it's Meadowlink.
Well, whatever they say. It sounds
Meta.
like
her
that.
her name is Meta.
Meta.
Yeah.
Meta, yes. Meta Larkin.
I would love to see Barbara in that
Oh,
role.
that would be yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun.
in that role.
That one would be a fun
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That's kind of a, you're not really featured throughout the whole show.
Right,
Though.
right.
You were understudying for that one. I remember.
I did, yeah. I was ready to step in.
I know. I want to give you credit.
So the name of our podcast is The Missed Cue. So we must know. Have you ever missed a cue as an actor or as a conductor?
So I am sad that you threw the director in there because
know you.
I was proud to say I have never missed a cue because I am that actor who I've got, especially for big roles like King Arthur and things like that. I mean, I have got either my cue cards or my script. I keep it in here, Grace, 3 weekends, 9 shows. Like I don't ever say, "Oh, I'm done." Like I'm ready to go. I'm listening. I'm paying attention because that is the nightmares of missing a cue. But musically, yes, as musical director, I can't deny that. Luckily, it was not the night when the Macy's judges came, but How to Succeed in Business, I did. And Barbara says she thinks that night I did have a panic attack because I did miss a pretty important cue. And I was enjoying the show so much. I was so into it. And then I saw my son making up things, looking at me like, "Dad, what the heck are you doing? Where's my music?" And it was finally my piano player who was like, "Mr. Hunting." So, I mean, yeah. So that night, yes, I had the dream of.
So it was fatherly pride that made you miss your cue.
That's what we're going to go with.
That's the
Yes.
most genuine reason I've heard on this show.
On this show.
Yes.
But I get it. Like that. I mean, I just played the tracks for the Madagascar workshop at Grace Arts. And there was one night where I was like so into what they were doing. And I was like, I'm supposed to hit play. Like, I didn't miss it, but I almost did because I was just so enthralled with the performance.
Yeah. I went and saw the last night of the third workshop.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, so good.
I know. Didn't those kids do such a great job?
Everybody did great.
Yeah.
Of course, my Starline students, shout out to them. But like everybody,
Yeah.
But it's sad because, we moved away for 8 years and we were very involved in Grace Arts Live. And now coming back, it's bittersweet because there's so many great people. I mean, Peyton, Russell, so many incredible actors and actresses that we don't know very well. And I'm like, so I feel so out of touch, but so talented. And oh my gosh, what Carmen is doing musically, like, and all with the shows. And I just think, oh my gosh, so good. But I'm not connected. I don't know many of the students, except for the students that are now mine from Starline, which I love seeing them perform, of course. But I do feel a lot of touch because I don't know all of them.
Yeah, and there's a ton of talent. It's ridiculous.
And we're in that time. I feel like right now we're in that time of growing some of the young talent. Like there's a lot of talented kids that are younger. We don't have as many of those, older ones just because they've grown up and moved on to amazing things. And we're growing the program and going to continue that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So Barbara,
Have
you
I
ever
ever
missed a cue?
I've never missed a cue as an actor. The closest I ever came was scary. It was Fiddler on the Roof. I was playing Golda, and I was triple dressed. And I had to do a costume change behind a set piece while it was on stage, and there was a scene going on in front of it. And it literally felt like I had 30 seconds. And I'm a big girl, and I didn't have a lot of space. And I freaked out internally. Sorry. I freaked out internally every single performance because I was like, I am not going to make this cue. I always did. A lot of times I was actually tying something on and made it appear like, oh, this is, part of the thing. But as a director, I've missed tons of cues. Tons. And I've worked tech.
She was my stage manager for all my shows
yeah.
back in Southern California.
I don't think I missed any cues when I was his stage manager, but the very last high school show.
I'm sure you wouldn't have heard the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. I usually was standing back there like, what is he doing?
I know that feeling. I know that feeling.
Oh, we need more of these stories. Yeah.
The last show that we did at the school where I was working, which was K through 12, I was the accompanist. So I taught elementary music, and I produced all of the shows that we did in elementary. And then for junior high and high school, I was the accompanist for all of their performing arts groups. So there were a couple of choirs, and then they did a couple of shows a year. The very last show that we did, our director brought in a famous twin brother duo, the Livesey brothers. They've written scores for like what is that weird movie where you never know if it's Inception. Like they were part of the musical writing team.
More name
for
dropping.
Inception.
I got to teach their daughter.
Yeah, so their three one of the twin brothers, his three children, 2 boys and a girl, went to
Jason Livesey.
Jason Livesey.
Shout out to
went
my buddy
to our
Jason.
school. Yeah, Google him, Jason Livesey. Stop interrupting me, please.
Sorry.
His 2 daughters were freshman and senior in high school, and our director decided to do Into the Woods. And Jason said, it would be my honor to come and provide the professional musicians for the orchestra, and I will conduct the orchestra.
Wow.
So he had his own, pianist, which I was no match for. So our director said, Barbara, would you run tech? I said, I would love to run tech. And then kind of at the very last minute, she said, would you also be the voice of the giant?
That's fun.
Yeah, but very tricky.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I had sound effects on my voice that I had to pull off and on, and So I think I missed one cue in one performance, but that was pretty stressful. But it was also fun. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Okay. Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Okay.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. All right. So the next one. If you could only listen to one cast album of a show for the rest of your life, but you can listen to it as many times as you want, but it's the only one you can listen to, what would it be and why?
Well,
My turn. No, my turn.
Oh,
I get to go first.
Well, I thought we were going to do a ping pong.
I know. I was
thing
like,
where-
you went first last time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
But
her
when
turn.
I interrupt you, I get told. okay.
Equity. I don't know.
So Barbara,
Yes.
if you could only listen to one.
Okay. If I could only listen to one, this is such a tough one because can I give you a top 3? My top 3, because my number
Because of your
time we
clout,
have.
yes,
Yeah.
I will allow
Time do we
it.
have?
my number 1 is a bit of a cheat, and I'll
Okay.
explain that when I get there. But I'd say my number 3 would be The Last 5 Years.
Okay.
Epic, right?
Love it.
Gorgeous. My number 2 would
Isn't that
be
Jason Robert Brown?
It is Jason
Yes.
Roberts.
Okay, just checking.
who intentionally writes difficult piano stuff. Just
Well,
put it out there. Yeah. My number 2 would be Dear Evan Hansen.
Okay.
Yeah, love it.
Yes.
And my number 1, which is a little bit of a cheat because it is a Broadway musical that was made into a feature film, and I would choose the feature film soundtrack over the Broadway cast album.
Okay.
Okay.
Ooh,
So it's a
which
bit
one?
of it's a bit of a cheat. Dreamgirls.
Okay.
Okay.
Girls.
Yeah, I would probably make the same choice, but and pick the movie.
Yeah. I mean,
Recording.
Beyonce, Jennifer
Jennifer
Hudson,
Jennifer Hudson.
Jamie Foxx.
One take on his song. That one song.
Yeah. And that movie, that soundtrack, that show, it has everything. It has love and deception, and it has highs and lows. And I think my favorite track on that album would have to be Listen. Listen. That's when Beyonce really she takes control of her life in that film.
Yes.
And love it. It's fabulous.
Darren.
For me, it's going to be a little shocker but it is 13, the musical.
Really?
Okay.
I directed that with. There's a whole new. My son Cody was in it, as you know. Corey was already out of high school. Carissa was in it, and it's a great musical. But I was just the musical director, and so then when we moved to Southern California, I loved it so much. I did it with my middle schools, my junior high, and they're 13, and so seeing 13-year-olds
That's the thing.
exclusively,
That's the
12
thing,
and
yes.
13-year-olds. So this cast, as you know, at the time, the oldest person was 14 years old. to make that original recording. And it gave me a whole nother level of respect for those, for performers, and to go, wow, Ariana Grande, she really does got it. And then of course, the musical is so fun and so funny and serious and but then as a teacher to say the last song, we've all got a lot of homework to do.
Yes.
Like me, teacher for 25 years, been doing musical theater for decades and no, I got a lot of homework to do. And I love the district is introducing this whole new thing. And at Starline, man, we're like, let's do it. Let's learn. Let's be better leaders, and let's help our students be better leaders. Like, we've all got some homework to do. Yeah. So I just think that the message of that musical is just stinking amazing. I love it.
That's the first song I heard from that show. And I remember being like, I need to hear more.
Yeah, it's a good show.
And then I heard more and I was like, oh my goodness. And it's so real. It is what 13-year-olds are going through.
Yes.
It is real.
Yes.
And you can relate to, like, everyone was 13. Everyone, like, you remember those times?
Oh, yeah.
Some of our listeners are 13. They're going through those times.
Yeah.
Every year, my 6th graders are going, oh no, they're going to grow older and they're going to be 13 and they're going to grow up and oh my gosh. So, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm wondering is if you guys could give advice to this up-and-coming generation of these 12, 13-year-olds, these high schoolers, these middle schoolers, and even the kids in Jamaica Theater Club, all of these kids growing up doing the arts, whether it's auditions, things like that, do you have any advice for them going into the performing arts?
I would say don't ever lose hope. And nothing can replace hard work. You're never, ever, as you grow older, you're never going to be handed anything in life. And when you are doing the work behind the scenes, it's going to show up in your audition. It's going to show up on stage. And you're not always going to get what you want. As Darren shared earlier, I mean, he auditioned for the Voices of Liberty 3 times. So don't ever give up. Don't ever lose hope. And if you have a passion for the arts, figure out what your niche is. And if the best advice I could give is that it's important to give every single aspect equal time. So if you're a great singer and a so-so dancer, then get in the dance studio. If you're a great dancer and a so-so singer, then get into voice lessons. And you need to work on your acting as well. Because I was a kid too, when you're rehearsing alone in your bedroom, that's what you do. And you might think, I'm the greatest that there ever was. You know what I mean? Get some outside perspectives and don't stay with just one teacher. Because every single person that teaches you, whether they're coaching you, directing you, doing lessons with you, you've got something to learn from every single one of them. You're filling up your toolbox, And so a variety of instructors I think is awesome, and just don't give up and keep plugging away and keep working hard.
That's some great advice.
Wow.
Follow that, Darren.
Okay, Darren, let's hear yours.
Well, I think experiences, like even in my own life, I'm an old man now, and the experiences that I have had is what has made me who I am. And I think back even on my own children. Yes, I'm a dad, so I was like, they were so amazing. They're just awesome. They're better than everybody else. But I mean, the experiences that they got at Grace Arts Live specifically oh my gosh, being able to do so many shows and learn so much. And, I think specifically of my Carissa. She did a lot with Grace Hearts Live, but she never got a lead role. And then we went to Southern California. Then we moved to Southern California, and I looked at the other students, and then I saw my children, and Cody and Carissa had been in so many different shows and had so many experiences that the only real difference was that they had opportunities. They auditioned. They took Carissa never had a lead role. She took every role she was in very seriously. I think back of bragging, I was in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and Elizabeth McDonough jumped off the stage, hurt her knee, opening night, and couldn't do it anymore. The next day on Saturday, Lauren grabbed Carissa, and here's Carissa. She was only 13 at the time. Grabbed Carissa, taught her the role, and she went on as my wife for Seven Brides for Seven Brothers with a 4-hour dance and vocal rehearsal with Lauren. Like, it was amazing. So she had these opportunities that when we went to Southern California, and here we're at this school, there were a lot of students, but she just had more opportunities.
Yeah, she was way more prepared, way more experienced.
Cody and Carissa both shone brightly, not necessarily because of talent. I mean, I think so, but because of opportunities. So,
that talent was developing quicker, I think, because of these opportunities,
Right.
The experiences. They were way more experienced, even though they were the same age.
Right.
Awesome.
Right. So being able to do it. So whether you're at the Theater Club of Jamaica or at Starline or Nautilus is thinking about starting one, I mean, all these great opportunities in town and Grace Arts Live theater companies, and just the more you get to do, the more you get to learn. And exactly what Barbara said, getting to work with different directors and musical directors and hearing different philosophies. But again, it's all growth. It's new information and it's opportunities. So, they say you hear there's no such thing as a small role, just small people. So a person who thinks, well, that's a small role, they're just kind of small-minded, because every role is important. And if you're taking every role important, you're learning something. And so the experience, enjoy the experience, and never forget what you learned from that experience, because how it's going to prepare you for the next experience. And again, you guys were telling us that Russell is going off to Flagstaff and not even doing theater. Like, what an incredible talent! But he's doing, this, whatever you said.
Yeah, I think he said exercise physiology or
yes.
something like that. Yeah.
His experiences at Grace Arts Live are going to make him better at this. What he's going to be doing in college, like. Yeah. How exciting to see these incredible people and the things that they've learned, and know that they're going to take it, even whether it's not in theater, in their job, in their...
Yeah, apply those lessons they have learned
100%.
to other things.
Because they're lifelong lessons. So 100%. These experiences and the way they build and make you who you are,
Well, Darren and Barbara, thank you so much for being on the Missed Q. Very thankful
for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you guys have been hugely influential in the theater community for a very long time here, even in your absence, and I think that was interesting that you guys went away and now you're back and seeing a whole new generation of talent. Yeah. So
100%.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on.
And just like that, we're at the end of another fun-filled episode of The Missed Q. We hope you loved the conversation as much as we did. Feel free to share your thoughts, ask questions, or simply say hi. We can't wait to hear from you.
Don't forget, you can always catch up on previous episodes and keep up with us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And we'd love for you to be a part of the Missed Q community.
A big thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. Your support means the world to us. We'd appreciate it if you could subscribe, rate, and leave us a review.
Until we meet again, remember, there's no excuse for a missed or late Q.